Hello guys, how you going? It's Campbell here from Autodidactic channel, and as always, autodidactic means to be self-educated, and guys, you want to be self-educated because believe me, you do not want to learn what they are trying to teach. Okay, so today's video is all about Stonehenge. And was Stonehenge rebuilt? Was it built later than we thought? What's going on with Stonehenge? Is it something to do with a history reset? Let's have a look. Alright, so this is Stonehenge today as it stands. We've pretty much all the picture. As you can see, it's not complete. They say it used to be a complete circle. Obviously some things have still fallen over. But let's get into this. So this is Stonehenge. This is, I think this was 1867, this photo, or around that time, and as you can see, there's still a few bits standing up, but there's, obviously a bit more, they're leaning a lot more, some of these stones, so I'm not sure if they've fallen over by themselves or if they were pushed over or what's going on, but you can see there's lots on the ground, a few that have been pushed out of place. This is a much earlier picture. This is around the sort of 1700s, late 1700s maybe. And again, a few leaning stones, but there's not a lot there. Most of it's on the ground. So, is this to do with a mud flood maybe? How did it get pushed over? These are pretty big rocks. Stonehenge. This is a more complete. This is obviously a drawing, but it looks even more complete there when we go back in time, when we go back further. So I just want to see if we can zoom in on what this says. It's a bit hard to read, this stone. Actually, I'd like to read that. I might have to get into that and see if I can get it bigger somehow, but it is pretty hard to read. But it looks like this stone circle might be in there somewhere. So it could be talking about, what Stonehenge is. But as you can see, it's more complete there than it is now. Look at these. These are almost round lintels, where these are the flat ones. A few people in there, so that's an interesting drawing. This is just, sort of comparing sort of today what we see, and this is an old drawing. It was all fallen down. It looks like there might be, smoke and fire and stuff, and maybe it was something to do with a war. So I'm not really sure. This is another old photo where again it seems, this is, look at the clothes they're wearing. This looks like 1700s, mid 1700s, and it looks fairly complete there. So so here's a picture of it. Okay, the cell they're calling it. They're probably trying to tell us it's a jail or something. The entrance, a geographical ground plot of Stonehenge. Not sure what that says, and it says the front view of Stonehenge. So they're saying that's the front. I never knew it had a front. So there we go, and these guys are surveying, taking some surveying photos or drawings there. So again, so they knew it was there. It's been surveyed, and it was, they got the maps, and it was more complete there than it is now. This again, probably late 1800s, early 1900s on in horses, and there's quite a few stones have fallen over more. It looks like more than have fallen at the moment. There's a couple of lintels still up. This is a cool one. Look at this plane. It looks like a sorry, it looks like a bicycle with wings. Might be oval right up there. But again, another picture of Stonehenge. There's a couple of lintels, but it's not as complete as it is now. There's a lot more stones have fallen over. This just says flying over Salisbury Plain. This one they've got an air balloon as well, so they're taking geological survey, aerial shots. But again, I don't know, it looks a bit less constructed, And this one here's got poles holding up the the monolith, the big standing stone there. Another pole there holding this up. So what's going on here? You know, a couple of people having a look on. Interesting stuff. Here's just another drawing again, and you can see it was in, you know, stones fallen over. So it's in worse condition than it was in that sort of 1700s drawing we saw. It's just, you know, a couple of guys sitting on some of the rocks that have fallen over. It just says Stonehenge. Doesn't really give any dates or anything. It must just be some kind of ad. There's just another shot of it falling over. Okay, now here we get into it. This is 1958. They've marked, or sorry, 56. They've marked it, and as you can see, they've got this crane thing, and they've got a big rock on there. So all these shots are from the 50s that we're going to see. Okay, let's go. Here we go. So they've got a big, it's not a huge, you know, crane, but they've got a crane. It doesn't have to lift that high, and as you can see, this is Stonehenge. They're lifting a lintel onto these two standing stones. And, you know, there's not much about, a couple of ladders, doesn't look like much of a work site. All these pictures are kind of strange. And what's this? Is this wooden decking on the floor or something? No, but he's just up on his ladder. He's got his hand on the rock. Yeah, just bring it down. He's over there just directing it. But, you know, what's going on here? Are they rebuilding it? Are they building it like the pictures we saw of another site? I mean, I'm not sure. Again, lifting it up, got the crowd around watching. These are all in the 1950s, mid-50s. You know, they're just using it, lifting it up, and they're just sort of swinging it onto their hands and dropping it down by the looks of it. Got their wheelbarrows, you know, hand tools, picks, but then they're dropping this massive megalithic standing stone in the ground. I mean, it just, I don't know, doesn't really make sense when you're, I don't know, there's something wrong with these photos. Again, there's, you know, one of the, what do you call them, arches, doorways. That's their crane. You know, it's a fairly big crane for the time. As you can see, the swing's not that big because they don't have to get up that high. So they could definitely have done this. Stones lying around. Again, lifting stones. You know, they've made this sort of girdle thing to lift it now. It must be a heavier one. This is how they're getting the standing stones in. They're just packing it in with wood, lifting it. As you can see, it's not a straight stone, so it looks like it's natural originally. And more lifting stones. You've got the big crowd around watching another lintel gone down. Just, you know, strange. There's another one they've got on the ground. Mr. Policeman standing there watching. These people are looking up at the guy taking the photo. I wonder if he was in the aeroplane we saw. See, they've got a smaller crane over here as well. They've got their little work building. Up on the lintels. And this guy's got his pipe in his mouth. Just checking it out. And this just looks like the public are just sort of walking around in there. There's, you know, stones all over the place. And this one, and this big trailer with stone on it, and this stone they're lifting off. So what does that mean? They've brought in stones? Are they added to it? Are they building it? Like, what's going on here? And again, what's this stuff on all over the ground? I mean, it looks like, I don't know. I mean, I doubt they would have had kind of the hard plastics we have today, but it looks like, I don't know, metal or wood or something. Very weird. And look at this photo. I mean, what's going on there? This dude's just climbing the ladder to nowhere. Stairway to heaven. Now there's one standing stone. It's huge. Look at the underside. This looks like it might be a lintel, but see, it's got the two holes in it. Looks like it might fit into, you know, these round pillars, but there's just rocks everywhere, and he's just, I don't know what's going on there. That's just, wow. Now this shot, this was actually marked 1920, so they're saying this is 35 years earlier, 1919 to 1920, and they were saying it's another restoration, and that's what they call the one in the 50s too, a restoration. And this is in the 1920s. There's a better shot there. Another restoration in the 20s. And that's it. So there's a lot of questions, guys, a lot of questions about Stonehenge. These are all obviously photos we saw, the old drawings. And, you know, why weren't we taught about this? I mean, Stonehenge, you know, everyone knows about Stonehenge. It's quite, you know, it's talked about quite a lot as a topic. But most people have never seen or heard about this. And not even in the guise of a restoration. You know, I mean, if they're saying it's a restoration, why is that something they're hiding? It's just very... And some of those photos, they just don't look right. They look like they're set up. They just look like they're staged. Yeah. So if you've got any more info, please leave me a, you know, a comment or any links that are interesting in the comments. And yeah, we'll sort of see what's going on here. But this is just one site, so I'm sure this has happened to other sites, other, you know, megalithic sites around the world. And it just really asks a question, you know, was it knocked over? And if it was it by some kind of flood? And if so, why did it have to be restored, you know, twice in the last century? Or was it rebuilt? What are they doing, bringing in new bricks and stones for? I mean, were old ones cracked, or are they adding on to it? And why was it more complete back in the 1700s than it is now? I mean, they're telling us it's, I can't remember exactly, it's at least 2,000 years that they say it is, 2,000 years old. So they're saying it stood all that time, 2,000 years, and then, you know, in the last sort of 100 years it's had to be restored a couple of times. Just very strange. All these tourists walking around, you know, working, people with pipes. It just looks very staged. Very strange. All right, well, that's it, guys. Stonehenge, was it hit by a flood? Is it a history reset? Is it just fake history? We're still looking for the answers. So I hope you like this video. Please leave me a comment, like, subscribe, and share this video if you like the content. And as always, guys, be autodidactic, because self-education is the way forward. All right, thanks for watching. Bye for now.